Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. What you want to talk about? Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, Lisa, Lowe, JT, and friends. Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. What you want to talk about? Kitchen talk, conversations that cook. Kitchen talk, Lisa, Lowe, JT, and friends.
Lisa, Lowe, JT, and friends. Y'all ready to pick up some conversation? Come on.
Kitchen talk.
Let's talk.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
How is everybody? Welcome to Kitchen Talk. CTC. Marvin, you know what it is.
Conversations that cook.
Yes. I love it. Welcome. So Dr. Marvin Scott is sitting in for France tonight, who is I forgot what he told me he was doing. Anywho.
He doing something.
He busy. Right. And JT is on his way, hopefully. Well, he said he was. But you know what? Here is the good part about virtual live stream. We get to kind of do whatever we want to do. And it just seems to work out that way. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Welcome back to Dr. Angela Henderson.
Great to be
back. Welcome back. And actually, you kind of kicked off our virtual platform with us. That was our first live stream show. So that was really, really cool. And we've been going ever since.
Yes. Hard to believe it was a year ago.
I know. That is so crazy. And then we have with us, so Dr. Henderson is a licensed clinical psychologist. Her practice is North Florida.
Cares, North Florida
Cares. That's right. I tried to remember. I was like, I think it's North Florida. Do I got it? Yep, there it is. North Florida Cares. And then we also have with us Ms. Tanya Tatum. She is the Director of Student Health Services at the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. All day long is Rattlers in the house. Yes. We are so happy to have you. Welcome, Ms. Tatum.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So we are super excited. Marvin is definitely no stranger to Kitchen Talk. We call him our money man. But he comes and hangs out with us often. And we really appreciate that. And so tonight I was thinking, I was watching an episode of Queen Sugar. I don't know if you guys watched that or not. And the new season, they are doing it's almost like a recap of our year. So they started with the news of Corona, not even the pandemic, right? So the first episode was like, oh, it's this thing coming, and Vi, you need to close down your business. And she puts a sign in the window and say, we'll be back in April. It's like 2 weeks or so. And I'm sitting there watching like, so we thought. And now here we are, literally almost to the day, 1 year in. And I thought this would be a really, really good topic. So to talk about it from, actually we got 3 perspectives on here tonight, and I'm just going to sit back and listen. The mental health perspective, we have a medical perspective, and we have a money perspective. So it affected all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shutdown and pandemic and brought so many other things to the surface. In this literally 1 year. My pastor said the other Sunday, he was like, 4 Sunday was Sunday that it was just the media team and him and the praise team. Nobody else in the church. And we streaming live from my iPad. And it's like literally 1 year. So when they told us, okay, y'all, we gotta go home, we're gonna take spring break. And then we taking 2 weeks after spring break, and then after that, everything should be good, and we come back, and everybody gonna be all right, and da 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 da. And here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here we are. And Miss Tatum, you have been nonstop since then.
Yeah, it's been quite a year. That I can say that. It's been quite a year. I remember talking about it with some of the individuals on campus when we looked at how we were going to respond. And I said early on, this is not a sprint. This is going to be a marathon for us. You know, this is not something that's going to come and go quickly. In spite of everybody's hopes that we would be over it quickly. Yeah, no, I said we're in this for the long haul and to think far down the road. So.
Yeah. I think too, you know, since you're, you know, at the university and you're all things health, you know, can you talk about some of the challenges and some of the things that you had to put in place, seeing that you have students, not just in Tallahassee, but you have students, you know, throughout the state of Florida, from Miami all the way over to Crestview and Pensacola.
Yeah. It was, well, I'll be honest. My background is in microbiology and immunology, and I love all things bacteria and viruses and things like that. So I have been tracking this from when I first heard about the physician in China in December, at the end of December. So I presented information to our safety committee in January, and I said, hey, we got to watch this. I think 2 days later, we had our first case in the U.S. Then we had the first death. And I'm sitting here thinking, geez, I know we're not really prepared for this. Nobody thinks in terms of pandemic. And the WHO resisted calling it that for a long time. And we kept seeing more and more cases crop up. It wasn't an issue in Florida. We had a few cases in Washington State. And for us, it seems so far away. It'll never happen. A couple of cases, and as our leadership in the country said, you know, it'll die out and we'll be fine. That's not how viruses and pandemics work. So I immediately started thinking, oh my gosh, we got to get a team together. We got to declare a state of emergency. We got to figure out what we're going to do. What do I have in the storeroom that's left over from Ebola? I mean, okay.
Yeah.
We pulled out the N95 mask and the whole getup. It was such a challenge because it really took us to think about how do we protect an entire campus, an entire community from something that's in the air. And that was really hard to get people to think in those kinds of things. And like I said, our leadership across the country wasn't lending itself to really preparing for, you know, responding. And all I could think of is, I've got all these people's children.
Right.
What do I do?
Right.
How do we do this? And really, I pulled a lot on my training and my background to say, okay, here's what I know. Here's what I think we need to do. And really, we had just so many people that stood up and really took charge and really helped with our response, because it was just overwhelming. It really is.
And it seems like it kind of continues to be. It is, and I know in the beginning, I know when we talked to Dr. Henderson, when we first were talking about this whole everybody go inside and don't touch nobody, and and this whole thing, and just the whole not knowing. So what have you seen, Dr. Henderson, in this year, like with the mental health part of it?
That's a very, very interesting question, because I think back a year ago when we were talking about the onset of all of this, and there were so many unknowns about this thing, and people were trying to see, how is this going to affect my life? What can I do to not catch this thing? And what will be my new normal? And as we talked, Lisa, last time,
that word.
You hated it, that word, but actually we talked about it being a better normal versus the new normal. Well, here we are a year later, and we still have questions. Now, are we in the same point we were last year? No. We've learned some new things about it. We've learned some new ways on how to cope. So we're in a different place, in a better place. So I would say over the year, what I've seen from my clients and patients is them adjusting through this whole change to their lives. So from them feeling overwhelmed by the unknowns, now they're feeling anxieties regarding the new normal, meaning how can I recapture some of the things that I used to do, love to do in this new way of living? Because no matter how we look at things, our lives will never be the same as it was pre-COVID. So we just have to accept that. There are new precautions that we'll have to take no matter what, moving this day forward. So that's what I've seen. People now beginning to venture back out. The vaccines, and I'm sure Ms. Tatum, you could probably talk about that too. The vaccines have been huge for my profession, because now they have something tangible activity that they can engage in that's healthy and that can impact their lives in a major way. So venturing out, okay, now that they're venturing out, how do I venture out? Do I connect back with my family? Do I go back to church? Do I leave from working remotely and going back to the office building? And if I do, will that make me more vulnerable to catching COVID? So there's still some anxieties tied to that. There's still some unknowns. So a lot of it is adjusting. That's what I would say. If I had to use the one word, it would be adjusting. Adjusting to the new way of life.
Well, I was thinking too, because to me, some people haven't changed. And I think, as Ms. Tatum was saying earlier, because of how it was downplayed, when it first started, as if it was, hey, look, we've seen this before. This is like the regular flu. It'll be over soon. So you have some individuals who never really tried to adjust their life or their lifestyle to this better normal, as you would say, this new normal. So, and now that we see some states are starting to kind of open up, and we saw how, last week, how the students were in Miami for spring break. We know the negatives when it comes to just the spread of the virus and so forth and so on. Mentally, are there any positives that can come out of students being able to get back to that place where they're out? And I know the danger there, but can you say, well, let's look at this, and from this standpoint, this might be something good?
There's a lot of, and it would depend on the individual's perspectives, like you said. Some individuals don't even consider the pandemic as a major thing, but the ones that I've come across over the year have taken it seriously. They've seen how it's impacted their lives, if not themselves, their family members. They've seen a lot of them have experienced loss. So in that regard, I would say the good part would be that individuals are now looking at their own responsibility and their own, how their choices in life affects another person. That's how it's seen with the, I would say, young kids on up to 18, like elementary, middle school, high school, and then probably college age too, that whatever their choices are, it does affect another person. So I've seen the connectiveness, them becoming more aware of that.
Okay.
So that's been a good thing.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. That's been something that we really have seen, and that, I mean, I think that's one thing we tried to capitalize on, to get the message across and make it not such a scary thing, but we're going to do these things. We're going to make these changes to protect each other. So we really tried to put that focus as a community, as a family, and just because one person can't do this on their own, and one person isn't going to win the battle on their own. So that was a real plus out of all of it.
I think that definitely was a positive that came out of this, is seeing us come together and pull together, and for the most part, try to look out for each other, try to protect each other. Even if, I would say that I might catch COVID, but I probably would survive. But I want to make sure that the people I'm around that may be at a higher risk, I want to keep myself safe so that I keep them safe. And so, so I think that was, but we saw a kind of banding together with a lot of things that happened in 2020. I think the shutdown actually made us sit and really look at the world and the state that we're in, with a lot of things, but that will probably be a whole nother kitchen talk.
Yes, I could piggyback on that because our world kind of slowed down to a pause back in March. A lot of people were at home, so they were able to watch TV and see all the madness that occurred in 2020. And people literally got stressed out. Like, I literally got calls from people that didn't know what to tie it to, but their stress levels were at a 10. And they just could not handle the events that were happening, in our world. So yeah, that was a interesting thing to watch too over the year, just how by them being connected more to the media and everything that was going on with politics and with the Black Lives Matter, it really affected people on a deeper level versus if they were going through their normal activities prior to COVID.
Sure, because we didn't have those same, I would tell people I don't have my same outlets, my same things that I would normally do to reduce stress or to take my mind off things. I'm just like, it's like right here in our face. And I think about Ms. Tatum, like with you guys, like hit the ground running. It was like we doing testing, and it was like boom, we testing every day, and I'm like, oh my God, how is she handling all of that? Like, have you had a day off?
We were closed Christmas Day and the day before. I think my floors got mopped then. So
how do you speak to us? Okay, here we are a year in, and where are we? Like, Miss Tatum, where are we? Is it getting better? Are we still like, are we gonna go back to, you just hear all of this stuff like, oh, it's gonna be another surge and it's 10,000 variants and where are we?
We are at a place where, let's just say, I can see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I know it's not another train. Okay. It's not clear sky yet, but I know it's not another train. We're in a pretty critical spot right now, to be honest. I think we've passed probably the worst of it. We do have some built-in protections now. People are aware. We've got sanitizer all over the place. People, for the most part, are wearing face masks and things. Know to take steps to protect themselves and know about going to get tested. So that's a real plus. However, because we have new variants that are more highly transmissible, because there's a lot of what they call COVID fatigue.
Yeah.
You can only keep people in so long. And we also still have a lot of people that are, a lot of institutions that are like, hey, everything's fine. Come on out. We're open. You've got this tension right now where we really still need people to be cautious until we get a lot more people vaccinated. Our saving grace are the vaccines right now. And until that happens, those variants are a real threat. I can't say it any other way. Just in the last several weeks, I've seen our numbers increase. I've seen the numbers increase in the state of Florida. Florida has more of the variant strain running around than any other state in the country. So we're at a critical point. It could go, either way. I'm hoping for one, but I'm fearing for the other.
I was thinking about it like this, in the sense of how in track, individuals who run track, they have to train you to finish. Because it's in our nature when we get close to the finish line to start letting up. And that's kind of how I feel now. We see the finish line. We haven't crossed it yet, but because we can see it, it's in our nature to start kind of, why are you slowing down? Why are you letting up on everything that you've done to get you to this point? Why are you letting up now? And it's because it's in our nature and to kind of slow down when we see the finish. And I think that's one of our biggest problems now, is that because the vaccine, people are starting to get vaccinated. So they're saying, hey, we could, like you're saying, we could see the light at the other end of the tunnel. And so everybody starts slowing down, and we're starting to let up on all the things that we were doing to get us to this point to where, hey, if we finish, we can pretty much be at a place where everybody's vaccinated and the variants are not being a bigger problem, but I think that's one of the things too. We can't let up.
Yeah, we can't. And unfortunately, there's a lot of economic pressure to let up and to regain our normalcy. And that means going out and partaking in a lot of things that we used to do that we haven't for the last year. And it makes it really a challenge for individuals to make those choices. Do I stay home? Do I travel? Do I, do any and all of these things? And if I do I really have to wear that mask? And I just, I'm begging people to hold on another 4 weeks, Let us try to get more people vaccinated. Florida's done pretty good with the vaccines, but we still need more folks. I mean, we're not nearly as far in as we need to be safe. So I've got my fingers crossed.
Wow. JT, what's happening?
Hello.
You're on mute, dear. What did he say?
I don't know.
Here.
We can't hear you. Nah, I read his lips that time. He was like,
on purpose now.
I don't know what's going on.
But anyway.
So Marvin, as the money man, what have you seen as far as trends with economics, with money? I mean, I know people have lost income. Are you seeing like any investing, or are you seeing people just kind of holding on to what they got?
Well, I mean, you see more and more people trying to be creative in how they make money. So, you go back to the thing that happened with GameStop. Again, that's people trying to be more creative in how they do their money. More and more people are trying to invest in the stock market. More and more people are trying to get into Forex trading. So people are trying to find other ways of doing it. You find more and more people now trying to become entrepreneurs, start their own business. So you do see a lot of that, and not to get into the politics of it and things like that. But, there are different things that we could have done on the front end, to try to, help families. You think about this, the first stimulus package was how many trillions of dollars? And, that was enough money that you could have gave 300 million families $20,000 each and told them to stay home for a month, give us a month, stay home for a month. But most of that money went to big business. Mm-hmm. So, and so then you have some people who are getting, the unemployment checks. And because the unemployment checks was actually probably more than what some of them were making, you had some individuals who from the mindset of, why go back to work when this is more, and then you have the questions that deal with this, for example, individuals, individuals who got the stimulus check that everyone have gotten the stimulus check from the standpoint of, think about this. If you were on Social Security or if you were already getting a government check and that check hadn't changed, then what happened? What about your income has changed? Mm-hmm. You follow what I'm saying? So you have some individuals during this time who financially, actually, this was a better time for them because they're access to different funds that other individuals normally would not have access to. And I know people don't like to hear that, but that's just the truth of it, because some individuals' money hadn't changed because their job didn't get canceled or their government check didn't stop coming. You follow what I'm saying? So you have those things. So it's a mix, but you have people trying to be more creative in trying how they make money, especially. But we see that a lot more in the younger generation as well, trying to do more to become entrepreneurs and find creative ways to make money. They want to make money the non-traditional way.
Yeah,
I'm jealous of everybody that comes up with those great ideas. And I go, why didn't I think of that?
Because you're too busy keeping us safe. That's why. Oh my goodness, we need you. Oh my! Every time I hear about something else FAMU is doing, now we're doing the vaccines. I'm like, oh, Miss Tatum, she need a day off. She need a nap. She should get a nap. Oh my goodness, it's just been nonstop. So how do you, like for me, okay, now that we are this whole year in, and like you say, Marvin, when you get to the finish line and we almost there, it's like you now, instead of the anxiety of what's coming next, it's like, when is this thing gonna let up so we can breathe? I mean, is anybody else having that issue? It's like, I used to hear people say, I'm loving it. I'm taking a break, and the world is slowing down and it's giving me time to do this, and I still ain't found that slowdown.
Even the introverts are struggling too, Lisa.
Oh.
Not as much though. We as an introvert, no, not as much.
You haven't reached your limit yet. I've heard from some introverts. They're like, I think it's time to get back out there now.
Yeah, now there are some days I'm like, you know what, let me because I have my own office, and so I can slide and go to my office and just get out the house and do something. But for the most part, for me, I really enjoy having days where I could just stay at the house, do nothing. Now that's because I retired, right? Because people who still have to work, I've heard more people say they work more and harder from home than going to the office. So you have some people like, I'm ready to go back to the office, so I don't have to work as hard. But for
real. For real. Like I'm telling you, I'm like, Lord, you know what? I'm like, it's so much. It's so much. And it's like every day is so much. It's like operating in crisis mode. Like we've been operating in crisis mode for a year. I know everybody don't feel that way, but it just feels like that. It just feels like it's one thing after another, after another, after another. Whew, I need a nap for real.
But you got Dr. Henderson on here, so she
said that. You just said your answer when you said I need a nap. It's pretty much when you feel overwhelmed like that, you got to have your valve. You got to have the release valve. So I would ask you or anyone that's experiencing that, okay, when are your down times? What are the things that you're putting in place in your life that gives you that release or that peace? If you don't have any of that, then the goal is to introduce that into your life. That's what helps balance out the stressful times, because the stressful times are not going to leave. It's just COVID-19 right now, but in the future, there will be something else. So it's good to now put into place some of your strategies for coping with this. So for that example, I would say, try to balance it out with some things that kind of decompress you. Relax.
Yeah, but I can't do them things because I can't touch nobody. Can't go out and hang out with my people. Can't call them and I have not found my new normal. I have not found it.
Yeah, sounds like you're stuck. You're trying to get pulled from an old well that's kind of dry right now. So we need some new water, fresh, new things introduced.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. Some new things. New things. I need to find some new outlets.
Yes. New hobbies. Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna try.
Well, Dr. Henderson, let me ask this question. What do you think? Also, is it because I know we said before sometimes you get overload or burnout. Is it good sometimes just to turn it off and don't look at it or listen to the news or certain thing? I find that sometimes we listen to the same things over and over and over.
That is actually a huge thing for those individuals that got sucked into it, especially during 2020. One of the biggest interventions we utilized was plug out. Just plug out from it. Don't spend all your day watching television, being tuned into that. Have periods of the day where you're literally out of that bubble, doing things that are not stressful or distracting you from that. So that's a huge, huge thing to do. Yes, you should.
Well, and then I think this is for both of you then, you and Dr. Tatum. How do you, as a student, because now they have the stress of school because that didn't stop. And I mean, I've been a student and I've been a professor. So you have some professors who look, ain't nothing going on but what I got to give you. Yes. And as long as you get what I got to give you, then it's okay. How do you cope with the stress of the COVID, the stress of the racial injustice, the stress of academics, the stress of being in the class where you feel like professors don't care? How do you unplug from that, or how do you do that? Can we give the students something that they can, kind of grab hold that can help them in those situations?
That I know, Ms. Tatum, you'll probably have your perspective too, but that's a really timely question because I've had a couple of cases just this week alone where that was the issue. And the biggest thing that they found helpful was scheduling. Students respond very well to schedules because they're used to dealing with their class schedules and other things throughout their day. So what we do within their therapy is putting in specific times of the day where they're doing things that drive their creativity, their joy, their peace. So it could be going for a run, exercising, connecting with family, friends, doing whatever creative hobbies that they like to do, whether it's musical, artistic, but they have to include those at least 3 times a week in their schedule. And I've seen that that's helped them a lot with reducing states of anxiety, depression, stress, but also I've seen that it's improved their academics, because by them having specific times of the day that they focus on academics, it's more productive time.
Okay.
They don't feel as distracted. So that's been what I've seen just this week alone. I think Ms. Tatum, you may have a different perspective on it.
Actually, no. I totally share the perspective. I think one of the challenges I've had is to try to be an advocate for students with some of the faculty. I talk to them all the time, and if there are particular stressors, and I deal with our assessment, our behavioral intervention team also. So we're really trying to, intervene as early as possible when we see that there are concerns or issues. But once I'm aware of it, we really do try to advocate on behalf of the student. And I've found in a number of occasions that when I've had conversations with faculty, I kind of bring it home for them too. So how are you dealing with this in your household and with your family? And geez, this person is trying to do the same thing, and they're away from home. They don't have those same supports. And to try to kind of bring it down to another level, and it's not just, I'm teaching, you've got to take it all in and I need an A out of you. So we've done that, and really trying to connect students with those other supports. Counseling is a huge one that so many of us do not take advantage of because of old perceptions that we have, and to really get them to see that as something that's very helpful and beneficial and useful. And it doesn't have to be something that stigmatizes us. So really trying to make those kind of connections for them and say, hey, this is something, try it, and then let's talk about it. Because particularly with students that may have contracted COVID, I'm in touch with them on a regular basis because, Lisa, unfortunately, my phone rings from 6:30 in the morning until midnight, and it's 7 days a week. And so I'm, get a call, I'm in the isolation unit, but I locked myself out on the balcony. And it's 11:30 at night. And I'm like, okay. Really just, working with them and talking to them and listening to them and connecting them with those other resources and people that can be helpful. Giving them permission to one, feel and be where they are and acknowledge it. And then also putting them on the right path to move past it and to work through it. So
and I feel like what you said is so important, and even going with the faculty, I think more faculty need to be educated on what you said, and being able to be brought back to that place of remember when you were a student. A lot of times we kind of forget what it was like when we were students. And we kind of remember the worst of what it was like when we were students, so to say, and whatever that was, that's what we're going to be. I always say the abused normally can become the abuser in many situations. And so a lot of times as professors, we find ourselves, doing that. So I think that information and that education needs to go to faculty members as well. I think they'll get more out of their students learning when they create an environment that's conducive to the students learning.
Sure. Right. But it was, true, but it's also tough on the faculty because you gotta teach children, or I shouldn't call them children because they're grown. You gotta teach these young adults in this whole new environment that sometimes some of us didn't know anything about, some of us still teaching and we on mute. we on the Zoom trying to figure out how to share our screen, and it's driving us bonkers, it's a whole, it's a whole factor to it. kind of fall back on what you think or what you know, and it's just been a lot for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think making sure that we all see that.
Know those things, know those tips. And what I found too in teaching is I try to be honest with my students and say, you know what, hey, I'm feeling this just like you guys.
Mhm.
That's good.
Let's work this together. I am a people person. So to sit here and talk to y'all for 50 minutes on a screen with your camera off is driving me crazy. But it's really strange. I've had students to say, "Oh, it's so much work. They give us so much work," and it's not really that it's more work, or it may be a little more work. But here is the thing: when we come in a classroom and we've asked you to read a chapter, we can have a discussion, right?
Mhm.
But if you get on Zoom and I don't know whether you learned anything from the chapter, I might have to ask you to write something since you want to talk to me. It's how do I say whether you learned anything? Especially when we can't have this discussion. So it's like I'm trying to do my job, you trying to do your job. We gotta find some middle. But yeah, so it's just a lot for everybody. But now we got some babies too that just them things.
Well, yeah, you got all I'm saying, you got good and bad in every group. You got good and bad in every group. But just understanding, the stress of class, no matter how much stress you are in as a professor, you got to remember the student is always going to be in more stress because they are the one that has to pass a test. They are the ones that have to reach a certain standard. So, so they're always going to be in more stress, and we just gotta remember that.
Sure. So, Ms. Tatum, let me ask you with the what are you seeing with the vaccine? Are people slowly coming, or is a whole bunch of people coming, or what is that looking like?
So let's say we're off to we started out slow. Okay. We were able and given permission to do 200 doses a day. I think we just hit 200 a day yesterday.
Wow.
And it's been over 5 weeks now. So part of that is because of the way the governor has rolled out eligibility for vaccines, which I'll be honest was very frustrating for me because the first 3-4 weeks we could only do 65 and over. And that was very limiting. And then it was 50 and over. And then, we added K through 12, 50 and over, and then law enforcement. And so we've really struggled, I think, in trying to get information and messaging out to individuals that were eligible to come and get the vaccine. We're now seeing more people come, but the age range has come down also. And, my conversations have always been, we did a really good job reaching the older population because they were, the governor felt they were the most at risk to have the most serious consequences or possibly die. So they got first. But we weren't going to get 100% of them because I know some of them, be like some of my family, they're like, I'll wait till you get yours.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So for me, it was like, okay, let's keep expanding the categories, bringing in younger and younger, and we're going to get the others. But it's going to take, and one of the good things I think that happened here is that on a federal level, they opened it up and they sent from the federal stockpiles vaccines to the pharmacies. So there are lots of places people can go and get the vaccine. And they got the federal vaccine, the pharmacies and the different stores had a different set of guidelines. So different groups of people they could vaccinate. So that was very helpful. helpful. I mean, in Tallahassee, you could probably go to probably 18 different places and get the vaccine. We were still observing the state guidelines under the governor's executive order. So as of this coming Monday, we'll be able to vaccinate anybody that's age 18 or older. So I'm extremely grateful.
Great. Miss Tatum, I'm sorry, Miss Tatum, have you seen any changes in the attitudes of maybe the students, I'm thinking of the 18 to 22-year-olds regarding the vaccines?
I've talked to them. In fact, I did a Zoom call with a student organization last night. And there's some that are anxious, that are ready. They are like, when can I get in line? I'm going to get my friends. We're going to be there. And I find that a lot of them are people who have had a personal experience with COVID, either through themselves or through a family member. I have another group that are like, we'll wait and see. And then I have a few that are like, the government's put microchips in there. Okay.
Yep, I've heard that.
Yeah.
So it's across the board. And for me, I don't want to, my public health and my physical health background is all about get the vaccine, get the vaccine, get the vaccine. But I have to take a step back from that. And my first question is to individuals, well, what kind of questions do you have about it?
Right.
So I want to empower you to have the information to make the best decision for yourself. And it might be that I say something today that you might make a decision on in 2 weeks. And I'm okay. I'm okay. But I need you to have good information so that you can make a good decision. And if the government's microchipping people, they're getting all of us. White, black, blue, purple.
But
they chipping people. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah. But you know what I tell them? I tell them. I said, they don't have to chip you because you won't put your cell phone down.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can track you with your cell phone, and from January 6th, they were able to watch the people who were at the rally and watch them all go over to the Capitol. They were able to watch so they can track you from your cell phone, so they don't have to chip you right now. Yeah. When you start putting your cell phone down, then they'll say, okay, maybe we have to do something.
Yeah.
But I have several people who call me, because I'm a pharmacist by education. So I have several people who call me and was like, Mark, you think I should get the vaccine or whatever? And it's like, yeah, and my thing is, if you're worried about them doing something, you know what, now you can go in any neighborhood you want to go into. Just make an appointment. When the vaccines were first being rolled out and people couldn't get the vaccine in their neighborhood, people were driving for miles and they were going into the lower income areas, close to those areas. If the vaccine was available and they had an appointment, they were going in those areas to get it. So like you were saying, if they're going to get you, they're getting everybody. The longer I explained to them, the longer you wait, when you're the last ones to get it, then if someone wants to do something to you, then they can do it then, because there's only a few stragglers and we can identify that group. Mm-hmm. So you get it now when everybody else is getting it. Guess what? You're good. So, so I'm thankful that I was able to get my first dose.
Hey, all right. Well, great. One of the things I do also tell people is that, they say, well, I don't know if it's safe and, it's still experimental. And I go, okay, I got it. How many people have died from the vaccine? I'm still coming up with a fat zero, okay? How many people have died from COVID? And you've got well over 500,000 people. And I'll be honest, I don't like those odds. If you're a betting person, what are you going to bet on? COVID or the vaccine? I'm going to take that vaccine every time. Yes. Those are just numbers I can't ignore. I just can't. Yeah. So
that's true. That's been a huge issue within the last, I would say, 3 months. about take the vaccine or don't take the vaccine. And I'm fully vaccinated, and how I relate to clients on the matter is I talk about it in terms of quality of life. Just, right now, if you don't take the vaccine, what will be your quality of life?
Yeah.
If you do take the vaccine and it's successful, and the rates right now are like 97, 96% efficacy, what could be the potential of your quality of life? And then have them weigh that and have them process that out. And then they're able to make a decision. And the majority of the time, they come away and say, well, yeah, right now I can't go to see my family. I can't do this. I can't do that. Whereas I possibly could do this, can do this, will likely do this. So it's more processing it out, and tends to work, tends to be beneficial.
So here's a question that I would like to ask about the vaccine. And I don't know whether this is my understanding or not. So you get vaccinated, can you still get COVID? And can you pass COVID on if you contract COVID?
So there's, yes. Let's see. The best answer for that is, one, they're still doing study. Okay. The one thing that they have promised that the vaccine does is that it prevents serious illness, hospitalization, and death. That's what we have 95, 100% efficacy for. Okay. They're still undergoing studies to see if it prevents infection. So I'm hearing some reports out that I think Pfizer put something out just like a day or so ago that their efficacy for preventing infection was really high. I haven't seen the studies yet, but I'm waiting anxiously for those. We're hoping that it does, but right now, since this is one of the things that made COVID so hard to deal with. It's a novel virus. It's never been in the human population before. So we're literally learning as we're going along. We're building the bike at the same time we're riding it. And so we don't have all the answers right away, or when we think we ought to be there. So I'm waiting. I'm hopeful that that all of the vaccines prevent infection. I really do hope so, because that will make a big difference.
And I was just going to add to that too. I think the big thing right now, though, is think about it from this terms: hospitalizations and death. If everyone gets vaccinated, let's just say we can get everyone in our families, everyone vaccinated, right? Let's say you do get the virus, because again, not 100% sure that you won't get it, but let's say you get the virus. One thing they're saying is so far, no one, they're 100%, no one is going to have serious infection and no one's going to die. So with that being said, now we can get to the place where, you know what, if I get the virus, I'm not worried because I'm covered, because this vaccine has shown right now that one, no serious infection, in other words, no hospitalization, and then guess what? No deaths. So I think right now that's the biggest thing that we have to look at from that standpoint, because we really don't know how this virus, affects one individual from another. You have individuals who we thought, okay, it's only going to affect the elderly, and it's only going to affect individuals who have underlying conditions. And then you get a 40-year-old male who's, was doing well, and all of a sudden they get the virus and they have to have their lung, a lung transplant or a kidney transplant. You follow what I'm saying? So this virus, if it does not kill you, it does damage to your organs. So, at this point, it's better for you to get the vaccine and be safe from the standpoint of, I feel more confident that if I get it, I'm not going to get sick and I'm not going to die, versus, you know what, I'm just going to take my chances and roll the dice. And who knows, if I get it, I may have, it may be asymptomatic, or who knows, I get it and I may have to go to the hospital, and that might be the beginning of the end.
So what do you say to someone who contracted COVID, made it through, it was not bad. Do they still need to get vaccinated?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, definitely. Because remember, we have new strains, new variant strains out there. There is the possibility of reinfection.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these new strains, you can get it easier. It makes you sicker. There's a higher death rate associated with the European strain and I think the Brazilian strain. So yeah, definitely. You don't want to get it like immediately after you've been infected and and you finish your isolation period, but within a couple of months after that, you really should be talking to your physician or someone about getting that vaccine.
Yeah, Lisa, and also I have learned that those that had the mild case of COVID, those are the ones that are more likely to have the long hauler symptoms. So getting the vaccine, they've shown early results that it has reduced those instances as well. So if you had COVID and it was mild and you're thinking about whether I should get the vaccine, you probably should, just to kind of mediate potential long hauler symptoms.
Definitely. So there's a whole new area for people to work in, dealing with the after effects and the long-term results of COVID. And I'll be honest, we're going to be finding out 5 years from now what all it has done. We just don't know yet.
And so are you going to have to do this COVID every year like the flu shot? Or is this a one-time deal?
Don't know.
They don't know.
We don't know yet.
Because I don't get a flu shot, but I don't get the flu either.
Well, we may have to have a talk about that. I'll call you, okay?
I need some counseling. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
I look at it this
I'm not settled in my spirit about it, honestly.
Yeah. Well,
I don't get me wrong. I know it's benefits to being immunized and all of this stuff. I don't know. I'm not like, okay, let me go get. And I was happy when they were still 65 and up and I had more time to think about it. But now y'all talking about they done reduced it to 50, and I'm like, oh man. Then they reduced it to 18. I'm like, I really ain't got no more time to think about it. I gotta make a decision.
Yeah, and Lisa, let me just say this too. This is not the flu. You know what I mean? So I mean, because I'm not one to say, I'm gonna just go get a flu shot. But this is not the flu, and I'm not saying you shouldn't get a flu shot. I'm just saying, just understand that you can't compare this to the flu.
Sure.
Yeah. And right now, I know that I've just heard some that say 6 months out, that say that the Pfizer vaccine is still 91% effective after 6 months. But again, they don't know how long the antibodies that you would have would last. That's just like when you have the virus. If you contracted the virus and now you have some antibodies in your system. At one point, they were thinking that initially that you may have some long-term immunity, but then as we got later into 2020, they started seeing individuals who had it before getting it again. So then you realize that, wait a minute, your body not producing long-term immunity to this particular virus. So one, don't compare it to the flu. Sure. This is the flu on steroids. So don't compare the two. You know what I mean? Sure. And then the other thing is we're not 100% sure if we're going to have to get a booster. Is it going to be something where you're going to have to get it once a year or every 2 years or whatever? Something we don't know yet.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it for me is the uncertainty. I know it's uncertainty with the virus. It's all of the uncertainty. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't necessarily share my, telling, oh no, don't get it or whatever. I want everybody to be informed. You need to make your own decision. Even before I heard that they were saying people were that the government was microchipping, I was like, y'all ain't finna chip me.
Yeah. But this ain't
joking, but apparently it was some people that was conspiracy theorists thought it was, and I watch movies, and I'm like, well, you know what? I mean, and most of the time I am joking, but seriously, in my mind, I just haven't settled with the idea of it yet. I'm still like weighing the pros and cons of it all. So yeah.
This is not Tuskegee. I can tell you that. This is not Tuskegee. You got too many other players in the game. This is something that's affecting worldwide, and it's amazing. One of the things that we have to do is we have to go out and create different flyers. We have to do different things in the Black and brown communities to get these individuals to get vaccinated when it's affecting us and killing us at a higher rate. So with that being said, we as a people have to do better, because this is something that's killing us at a higher rate. And the longer and the more we say, you know what, we'll let them get the vaccine and we're still going to be hesitant, the more of us that's going to die and the more of them that's going to be saved. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand that this is not the same thing, and we want our families protected the same way that they want their families protected. My dad is 85 this 85 or 87 this year. I got to go back and look at the numbers.
We hope he's not watching, okay?
As long as he's not watching, Dad, forgive me. But I had to, tell my sister to make sure, get him vaccinated. Because I want to see my dad. But if at that point, if I want to see my dad, what risk do I have? Did I bring to him by not being vaccinated and he's not vaccinated, and then I go visit him not knowing if I'm a carrier or not? You know what I'm saying? So get him vaccinated so I'll feel comfortable. I can go see my dad. He can see me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Zoom, and we do Zoom, and I see him every Sunday morning for service, and I love that, and I get excited about that. But at the same time, it's not the same. I like to be able to get in my car, drive down, sit down, put my eyes on him, be able to touch him. So my thing is, hey, get my daddy vaccinated. So, so I'm excited about the fact that he's getting vaccinated. My sister's getting vaccinated, so this is important. So
sure. I mean, and it is, I mean, it's all a trust issue. We do have to trust, and we don't blindly trust anymore because of the way history has been. Right. And not just history, but the present continues to be. Now, let's not throw all of that away. But I get what you're saying. I mean, I get all of that, sure.
But that's why you need more.
There are more people in place, and there are more people making decisions, and things are changing. But the more things are changing, sometimes the more they're staying the same.
And you're definitely right on that. But I'll say this, and then I'll be quiet. That's why it's important for us to have more Black pharmacists, more Black nurses, more Black doctors, you know what I mean? More Black psychologists. It's important because, and we need those individuals not just to be skin folk. We need them to be kinfolk. We need them to be willing to stand up for what is right, no matter what the cost, But when you have more people like that in place who have a connection with our community, that does help with the trust issue, and that does put us in a place where I'm more willing to get something because you said so. And that's why some people that call me, they'll go ahead and get the vaccine because they trust me. You follow what I'm saying? And so because there's a trust thing there, then they're willing to go and do things that they normally wouldn't do, but because they trust. And so that's why they need to have more people like Ms. Tatum and more people like Dr. Henderson and you know what I mean, more pharmacists who would stand up and then say what we're saying to build that trust so that those individuals would get the vaccine.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why we have been so involved from day one. That's why we put the testing site up. That's what we fought tooth and nail to get it up and running, to keep it going, to put some of that trust, hopefully, that the community has in us, because we saw really early on that this was killing us.
Yes.
We're on the front line. We're our grocery store clerks. We're our nursing personnel. We're the people that kept everything going, and we would get it, and then we still had the most serious consequences from it because of other health conditions, because of years of just racial disparities. So that's why FAMU really made the commitment to get the testing up and going, why we've made the commitment to do the vaccinations. We are getting ready to open up a COVID lab so we can do our own PCR tests. I mean, there's so many things that we are doing because to protect ourselves, to protect our community, we had to put ourselves on the line on this. So we really wanted to do that. It just felt so important to hopefully give the community some sense of, well, okay, I've been testing over there. Maybe I'll come and get the vaccine.
Yes.
We just wanted to try to build on that. And as for your question about whether or not you got to get it every year or whatever, who knows? We'll find out eventually. We'll just see. We'll see. It's a
we are definitely gonna see.
They're kind of like cold viruses, so it wouldn't surprise me if we had to get a booster every year, like a flu shot. In 3 years, that might be combined, the flu and COVID all together, one shot, you're done. But yeah, Dr. Scott's right. COVID's not the flu. The one will definitely kill you a whole lot faster. So
Yeah.
Wow. Look, you guys are like so awesome. We are over our time. I love it. I love it. So, Ms. Tatum, you have got to come back to the kitchen.
okay,
And
thank
Chris
you.
told me to tell you that he missed it. He knew it was going to be good, and you are doing an awesome job. So he said, "Thank you." Dr. Henderson, thank you for hanging out with us again. So you gonna come back too. So we got all of these new friends, and at some point we gonna get to come to the kitchen for real.
Okay.
Will you get vaccinated?
Yeah. We all get our vaccines.
Okay. If and when I do, we'll have a party. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Marvin. Dr. Marvin Scott, for hanging out with me. I appreciate you so much.
You're welcome.
That's the money man, y'all. That's the money man. Appreciate you. Thank you guys so much. And we are going to see you all back next Thursday. If you are watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're watching us on Facebook, hit the like button so you will never miss another show. Thank you to my guests. This has been Kitchen Talk CTC. Marvin?
Conversations that cook.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Thank you all. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.